The Wall Street Journal is out with an expose on Homeland Security Chief Kristi Noem, and it is making waves. It's also drawn a response from the White House. It's one of these big stories, even as we round out the week. And it involves what the Journal has reported from multiple sources and a lot of backroom detail as a kind of constant chaos at the Department of Homeland Security, where the stakes are obviously high. There are firings that are described as basically incompetent or don't make sense. There is a nastiness and pettiness described in the article, a sometimes circus-like atmosphere. The Journal says Noem also wants to pin blame on various other officials. She sees herself in a kind of a PR political war with the other immigration officials. She wanted the acting ICE director to sort of be the face of the problems in Minneapolis rather than actually solving the problems. Now, there are plenty of stories like this in every administration, but the sheer details here are still something. People told the Journal that Noem demanded that they drop a new plan for ICE to carry out targeted enforcement in Minneapolis, but that was the approach, of course, the director had been advocating, that Noem would berate her staff if she saw Homan on TV, that she was keeping track of their TV appearances, and is also angling with Corey Lewandowski for some sort of higher role or power within the White House of the Republican Party going forward. That is the scrutiny on Mr. Lewandowski, who, of course, is an original Trump figure all the way back from the first campaign, but that even though he is in this special government role at DHS and they fly on a government jet or a leased jet, they have security, and it's DHS. They got officers all over the place. For some reason, Lewandowski kept wanting to take the unusual step of getting a kind of government federally issued gun. And the Journal reports that despite his power and proximity to the president, this is just not done, because at DHS you have the people with the guns in those roles, not the executives also having guns. And a lawyer would not sign off on it. And then, days later, that lawyer was put on an administrative leave. Lewandowski eventually persuaded other lawyers to sign off on some aspects of this. Apparently, he wanted a gun and a badge. They also apparently fired a pilot when they couldn't find their blanket. This was Lewandowski and Noem. Noem had to switch planes after a maintenance issue. The Journal reports her blanket was not moved to the second plane. And a Coast Guard pilot, the Journal reports, was fired over this, but then reinstated because, as you see there on the screen, no one else was actually available to fly them home. And as is often the case in these kind of backstabbing stories, even though the public accountability and transparency could be good, note at the end of what you see there, that was a quote, according to people familiar with what happened. So if it wasn't Noem and Lewandowski, it's a small number of other people at that high-level plane situation who apparently want the public to know what's going on at DHS. I'm joined by Molly Jong-Fast, New York Times writer and MS Now analyst, host of the Fast Politics podcast, and Obama campaign veteran Che Komanduri. Che, as I mentioned, you see articles like this throughout administrations,
right.
But the Journal stands by its details and sources, and it really paints a picture of incompetence and pettiness at DHS, which is also mired in these other problems, and sooner or later, with enough security failures, killings of Americans, other problems, you would think that that there will be little tolerance if this is what they're actually spending their time on.
Yeah, I would say that you don't really see anything like this in other administrations. I mean, yes, you see some mismanagement, some minor, unfortunate, petty corruption, but this is of a totally different scale. This is, Trump is the reality star president, and this is like the Real Housewives of Washington, D.C. If that Wall Street Journal article had included an anecdote about a glass of wine being thrown in somebody's face, it would not have been at all surprising. This whole thing is a soap opera, but I think for Trump and for the people around him, they kind of like this soap opera. You might remember with the episode with Elon Musk, having somebody else who draws attention, who can be blamed for things, is extremely useful for Trump. Trump's approval ratings did much better when Elon Musk was there, and people were blaming him for everything bad that was going on. And I do think that Kristi Noem is serving the same purpose this time.
That sort of a lightning rod thing. She was asked about the deportation programs, and Molly, the substance here, of course, is that whatever the reasons, Trump didn't like the reaction to the killings in Minnesota, and they have since left, but they've also put other people in front of that. So here was her response when asked about who's in charge.
In charge of the mass deportation campaigns, or is Homeland?
I'm still in charge of the Department of Homeland Security. That includes all 23 different agencies under our umbrella, including ICE and CBP, but also FEMA, TSA, Secret Service, the Coast Guard, many, many more.
Molly?
Yeah, I mean, look, Donald Trump has decided he doesn't want to fire anyone. And as long as that goes on, this is going to be the situation. But this article, and there's a lot of stuff in there that has, that was sort of low key known about, is pretty damning. And it is like real Banana Republic stuff. And if you think about how, what I thought was sort of the through line, and it's a through line in a lot of the reporting about Lubandowski and Kristi Noem, is that it seems they're very interested in her political future and sort of putting her, one of the anecdotes in there is that he texts someone text Tony Fabrizio saying he wants to do ads for her. She needs more FaceTime. Yeah. And anytime anyone goes through an airport, you can see that this woman wants to be more than just Homeland Security, right? Because she's got this big, there are photos of her when you go through TSA, very done up. So clearly she has a lot of ambition. And it's I sort of see this as she's got a lot of political moves that she's trying to make, and they're very sort of ham-handed and ham-fisted.
Yeah, and Jay, DHS hasn't historically been a leapfrog to running for president. I guess the question here with Kristi Noem is, will that dog hunt?
Yeah, I can just do a spoiler alert right now. Kristi Noem will never be president. You can give her a quarter and have her call her parents and let them know she will not be president. This country will elect Kim Kardashian before it will ever elect Kristi Noem. Kim Kardashian's a much better reality star diva, to be honest, than Kristi Noem. The missing blanket. The fact that you would fire a pilot over a missing blanket and then have to rehire this pilot because nobody else is going to fly you home is absolutely comical. If you did an SNL sketch about it, nobody would believe it. It's so ridiculous. So I don't.
Right, exactly. But, is that a real dog in the background? Am I imagining things? That's you, Molly. I'm just saying it's
a small dog.
Yeah, that's great.
It's a small dog, but very vicious. Small dog, but vicious.
It might be fitting. It wasn't planned, but it might be fitting. But go ahead, Jay. Finish your thought.
Yeah. That's another reason, by the way, I think Kristi Noem will never be president. Americans love their dogs, and somebody who is rather proud of having shot a puppy is not necessarily a qualification that anyone is going to look for as president. But look, politicians have egos. They're always the last to know what political reality brings, and I think that's certainly the case in this with Kristi Noem.